This episode is brought to you by Simply Eloped. Planning a wedding and feeling overwhelmed? Simply Eloped makes it easy. With over 14,000 elopements and vow renewals planned and 37 stunning U.S. destinations, Simply Eloped planners have you covered. Their all-inclusive packages connect you with over 700 top-tier vendors, cutting stress, cost, and complexity. Your story deserves ease. Let them handle the hard stuff. You just show up and say, I do. Start planning today at simplyeloped.com. That's simplyeloped.com. Today on CityCast Denver. District 11 is home to Denver International Airport and several neighborhoods that existed long before the airport was built. Councilwoman Stacey Gilmore has been representing her community for more than a decade and has strong feelings about the direction Denver is going. She joins me today to talk about the study to widen Peña Boulevard, the new American Indian Cultural Embassy coming to Montbello, and the lasting effects of the mayor's layoffs. Today is Monday, November 17th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Councilwoman Stacey Gilmore, welcome back to CityCast Denver.
Thank you so much.
So, Stacey, what's going on in your district these days? What should we know about? District 11.
Yes. Lots going on. We just found out that last Tuesday we got the American Indian Cultural Embassy passed on the bond for $20 million. And so that's super exciting. We're looking at doing that. That's a brand new
structure that's going to be built.
Right at 56th and Peña, right at the den at First Creek Open Space.
That's awesome. That was actually one of my next questions, to be honest with you, is the bond. The bond put out by the mayor passed. Your district is getting this amazing cultural embassy for the American Indian community here. You're seeing some pedestrian safety improvements, upgrades to the Green Valley Ranch Library, among other things. But I know bonds tend to pass here in Colorado. Or in Denver, we like them. But is there anything that struck you about that may have driven voters or how you saw this bond rolling out for voters?
I'm always really grateful how informed and educated the Denver voters are. And so they understand the capital improvements that a bond will bring to the city. And so I think that's why bonds always pass, because they know that they weighed in, they shared their projects. They might not love everything, but they know that that's one of the only ways in the city that we get these big recreation centers, arts and venues, big transportation projects done. And so they're really smart about that.
How do you see your neighborhood, your district, connected to this, like the city? I just think it's kind of far away geographically from a lot of stuff you have to come into Denver to do. What's your approach when you're like, hey, I'm representing this community that maybe some of you have even never been to?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that the embassy is so important, because, when you look at how far out we are, most folks know they pass through District 11 on their way to the airport, right. Peña Boulevard. So You're either sitting on it and you're looking at the communities to the right and to the left. To your left, that's Montbello. To your right is Green Valley Ranch if you're going out to the airport. And so we haven't been able to get 61st and Peña, that first A-line station, really activated. And we need something there. We need attractions there. We need retail there and entertainment. And so by having the embassy very, very close to that, there's actually a trail system that goes and that you can get access really easily to that first train stop at the A-line. And so that's going to be a big deal to start really bringing people from downtown out to District 11 for a reason other than just going to the airport.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I live on the opposite side of town to you. I'm in District 3, and we have the American Indian Center in our neighborhood. But, the community is spread out throughout the city. So It's cool to see them getting something served directly to them, in another part of the city.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the airport. this is a huge part of your district and what people know about it versus just the people that actually live in your district and how they experience it. But so back in August, a study was announced that would look into the possibility of building a small modular nuclear reactor at Denver International Airport. You said that prior to Mayor Johnston and DIA CEO Phil Washington's announcement about this potential study, neither you or any registered neighborhood organization or others in the community of District 11 were even consulted or notified about it. Denver, it reported too that DIA said it planned to spend up $1.25 million on the study. Those plans were halted after your pushback. Can you give us more detail on what went down?
I would say that, Mayor Johnston and Phil Washington, the CEO of DEN, they were really betting on Department of Energy grants that were going to come through the federal government to really research and look at small nuclear reactors as clean energy. And, your viewers can't see me, but that's
saying
in quotes.
This in quotations.
Yeah,
okay.
Clean energy with small nuclear reactors. And they did that news conference right before they briefed council on it, which is super backwards. Like, you probably want to brief council on it first before you go and get out in front of the cameras, but they didn't. And, in the same breath of the airport wanting to research small nuclear reactors, Phil Washington talked about the opportunity to put data centers out there as well. And so out at the airport, a lot of folks don't know this, there's a lot of additional acreage that's the airtropolis that Hancock would talk about. We've never been able to develop any of it because you can't get power to it. That's another conversation about Xcel Energy, but you can't get water, sewer. It's a lot of underground horizontal improvements that no developer wants to put in that money. And really, DEN, as owning the land, they should do a lot of that, but they don't want to because that costs money. And so they want to explore these small nuclear reactors to get enough power for the airport. And their energy needs are gargantuan. They are just grow. I think they said they want on average 400 megawatts of power, which is a small, public utilities for a small town. And DEN says that Xcel Energy can't deliver that. And so they need to figure it out. And I'm sort of like, whoa, wait, because if you look up small nuclear reactors and why nuclear energy hasn't taken off as this great solution, it's been around for decades, 50 years. The cost of manufacturing it with all the cement that you need to put in, you need to go underground, and then you have uranium that needs to be mined. So we're not even talking about the mining industry at this point, but you have to get that uranium. You have to do things to it to turn it into plutonium. The plutonium that's made is weapons grade plutonium. So the security risks that go with a small nuclear reactor have not been discussed. I am flabbergasted that they came out and just tossed this out there instead of geothermal, thermal, solar, all the different things. And so we're preparing to fight back against them on this and not let them proceed.
So what is the next step? So this was halted in August. What are you looking out for next?
So, DEN, I asked them respectfully to let's do some small community-based meetings. Let's invite in the R&O leaders, community members, because, you have to remember that when the airport was moved out to District 11, the Montbello community had already been there. It's like a 65-year-old community.
Right.
Green Valley Ranch was always there. Green Valley Ranch and Montbello never got a community benefits agreement for, would we have ongoing health testing, air testing, water testing. We never have gotten a community benefits agreement for the airport. They systematically overlooked the two closest communities. we're situated right next to the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, which used to be government
Super
munitions
fun
were
site,
made
yes.
there for World War II, sarin nerve gas, and then Shell Oil made pesticides there. So talk about an environmental and a social justice issue. And Montbello and GVR are the number one, number two most diverse neighborhoods.
I was just going to say, I don't know the exact demographics, but I know just anecdotally from my friends that grew up in these neighborhoods, it's predominantly families of color.
Yeah, definitely. So, there's so many questions around it. And so we asked Den to start doing these small learning opportunities and like bring out Denver water first. I would love to know what Alan Salazar has to say, because to cool a small nuclear reactor or a data center, you need thousands and thousands of gallons of water to do that. We don't have any snow here. We don't have a snowpack. So I think we should be talking about water and water uses, but Den's like, oh, Denver Water's fine with it. I'm like, I don't believe you. We need to talk to them. And then let's talk to the state health department. Let's see what our asthma rates are. Let's see what health disparities we might have, and how do we guard against that when the airport is looking at grow, and they're wanting to surpass 120 million passengers very soon. And that airport was not built for that capacity. Neither was Peña.
So you brought up Alan Salazar. He's the head of Denver Water right now, just so folks know. And also I'll drop a link in the show notes. I actually just did an interview a couple weeks ago with Sam Brash, the environmental and climate reporter at CPR, about data centers, because of the one going in Ilaria Swansea, that is a similar situation, and that the neighborhood was not really given the benefit of even community outreach to let them know. Like, a lot of folks learned what it was after it was being built. And so I think there's just a lot of unknowns there. And I think that would scare me in my neighborhood. I don't know what's going on if that's something like that's going in. So
yeah, I've really been researching it, and where they've built data centers in like Kentucky and other areas, their water pressure is affected. They're starting to see a lot of sediment in their water. We don't even know what the wildlife issues might be, the air pollution, the sound pollution from kind of the constant hum of those data centers. And so there's a lot more questions than answers. And so instead of kind of talking with the community, Den decided to jump over Denver, and they started holding meetings in Reunion, Commerce City. I think their last one was November 5th out at the Western Airport. And so we've pushed back, and we have a meeting scheduled next week on November 18th. And it's going to be at the Green Valley Ranch Recreation Center. So if folks want to come out and learn more about what Den is proposing as far as energy into the next, 30, 40 years, come out, and it'll be on our Facebook page and social media.
There's another question, actually, I have related to the airport, which is back in April, Council approved a 5-year, $15 million contract for a study to consider options to reduce traffic on Peña Boulevard. Transit advocates pushed back, and some of your fellow council members did as well. Denver 7 reported that Councilwoman Sarah Parody said, quote, if we completely exclude transit alternatives other than a dedicated bus lane at this juncture, we're really risking jeopardizing our climate goals and the health of communities near the airport by essentially doubling down on car dependency. So this is still speaking to something you were just talking about, which is environmental concerns, but you signed off on this, right? Tell me a little bit more about your reasoning around approving this study.
Yeah, happy to. When you talk about climate change, it's so complex. There's so many different parts of it. And, at the end of the day, if we could turn every car that's on the roadway now into an EV, an electric vehicle, we'd be in great shape. But we know federally that's no longer a mandate. They're just oil and gas, and they want to drill. And so, that's not going to be an option. And so I did sign off on it because we have started to see in Montbello and Green Valley Ranch a lot of airport traffic that are cutting through the neighborhood, because I-70 about this time during the day starts getting backed up at Quebec. Then you've got it to Colorado that is backed up. And it's all that curve around Peña trying to get out to the airport. And so we wanted to at least do the NEPA study, the environmental study, to kind of see what the conditions are out there. And then we can start determining what the next steps are. And, it might not be widening. Who knows? I mean, we need to talk to the community and, should DEN be responsible for paying for shuttle service, for local commuter traffic to get us to an A line? Or those are some of the things that would have been negotiated in a community benefits agreement, not unlike where the Broncos are looking to go. We never got any of that. And so this is really the opportunity for us to share that with DEN. And, if the airport doesn't have a good plan on how to mitigate this unregulated growth, we need to start as government putting those parameters on them. And I am totally open to what those parameters might be. It might be an HOV lane only. It might be toll. It might be bus or shuttle, but we've got to figure it out.
Well, and I believe DIA has said RTD is a separate entity. So this study doesn't include anything around other modes of transit, but I can see where transit advocates are maybe saying, okay, but that's still we're still focusing on the car as the option. Is there any way to bring those two things together? I get it, funding is different, RTD and what DIA chooses to do, but to the average person, they're either just trying to get to the airport, just fly somewhere or go to work.
Mm-hmm. I think that we need to really push back on what DEN has told us historically that they can spend money on. I've been elected for 10 years, and every time we asked for something, we asked for, off of 56th Avenue as you're getting onto Peña Boulevard, we wanted a double on-ramp lane so you could bring two cars up. DEN was like, oh, no, we can't do that because the FAA tells us we can't. Everybody accepts that as, okay, they know what they're doing. We as a city have never challenged or pushed back on what the FAA is telling us. And that also ties into DEN right now is sitting on about 800 days of revenue. For a rainy day, for a catastrophe, for whatever, they usually have about 800 days of revenue. So what if DEN, because of climate change, because of undue traffic in communities of color that are close to the airport, why couldn't DEN pay for shuttles or multi-mode transportation with their airport money, even if it's off airport? Peña Boulevard is owned by the airport. The FAA manages it. So I think there's a lot of different solutions that DEN could put into place, but we're going to have to challenge that FAA kind of urban myth that, oh, the FAA says no. We need to start asking, well, we need that in writing, please.
This episode is brought to you by the Denver Botanic Gardens. Make the holiday season magical at Trail of Lights at Chatfield Farms in Littleton. Wander through multiple glistening tunnels along the Colorado countryside as synchronized illuminations dance above. Enjoy the farm's mile-long path or take the alternative trail that's a shorter stroll but just as beautiful. Keep bellies warm with hot beverages, nuts, kettle corn, caramels, and fudge, which are available for purchase. Plus, get ahead on that seasonal gifts list. Visit Chatfield Farms Holiday Market running November 21st through December 24th. Chatfield Farms is located at C470 and Wadsworth Boulevard in Littleton. Trail of Lights runs November 21st through January 11th. Tickets must be purchased online in advance. Grab yours now at botanicgardens.org. That's botanicgardens.org. This episode is brought to you by Denver Health. Connect with a trusted provider wherever you are in Colorado, right from your home, car, or office. Whether it's a cold, a minor injury, infection, or even a rash, Denver Health's virtual urgent care gets you the help you need. Rated 4.7 stars by over 100 patients on Google, it's a reliable way to feel better sooner. From your campsite. That's something Colorado people do. What if you get a bug bite in the woods? Virtual urgent care can totally help you. You would know if you need to hustle your butt back to the city or if you can keep on your camping trip. I'm just thinking about people in Colorado doing Colorado things that I enjoy watching other people do, like camping. Denver Health is here for life's journey. Ready to make an appointment? Just head to denverhealth.org/virtual today. Most major insurance plans are accepted. Need care fast? Denver Health has you covered with virtual urgent care.
Guess what? CityCast has some news. I'm Sean McPherson, the host of CityCast Twin Cities.
And I'm Jane Sihu, and I'm the host of CityCast Seattle. Hey, if you have a friend in one of our cities, can you text them for us?
Yeah, something, simple like, hey, how's that rash doing? And do you listen to podcasts? Because I have one you're definitely going to like. After that, tell them that CityCast has helped you become more informed, more involved, and more connected to your amazing city.
We're going to help that person you know in Seattle who's been trying to make friends.
And we're also going to do that for that guy you only kind of knew in college who moved back to the Twin Cities after graduation.
Don't we all have that guy?
Yeah, and usually that guy is named Todd.
So did you text them yet?
Jane, let's just wait a minute. We don't want to rush anybody. We'll do a little small talk. How's everything going in Seattle?
Beautiful, beautiful. Fall leaves popping. How about Twin Cities?
Today, beautiful and sunshiny in St. Paul. Okay, Jane, I bet they are done texting by now, and I just want to remind them, hey, you, please tell that friend to subscribe to CityCast Twin Cities or Seattle, wherever you get your podcasts.
Or if you don't want to text them and you're really just on Instagram sending them DMs all the time with funny videos, send them a DM of our latest videos. You can find us at CityCast Twin Cities or CityCast Seattle on Instagram. Thanks.
There was another hot topic this year for sure, which is the mayor's layoffs. You were very vocal about this issue, especially about your own husband, Scott Gilmore, former deputy director for Denver Parks and Rec, losing his job. You sent out emails to your constituency about the issue, and the Denver Post editorial board accused you of using your position to, quote, pressure members of the community to also advocate for her husband's job. What do you think about that characterization?
I would have to lean back on the other folks who were laid off. There's a gentleman, his name's Josh. I started helping people the very day that Scott was laid off in a 2-minute conversation. And after that conversation, their emails were cut off. Their badges were cut off. They could not do anything. And so consequently, that same day, I started getting emails from Denver employees saying, Councilwoman, would you help me? Would I need access to my pay stubs? I can't even go fill out unemployment because you have to be able to show your pay stubs. If you weren't prepared to be laid off, you had no idea. And the amount of people that were blindsided by being laid off, I fielded those calls. I spoke with them that day. I gave them my cell phone number. I gave them a blank letter of reference with my signature on it, with my letterhead, saying, here, do what you need to do. I want you to get another job. You need insurance. You need help. And so there were folks that wrote letters to the editor, very angry, saying, heck yeah, she's helped me just the same. She's not only advocating for her husband, she's advocating for the rest of us. And, attending the meetings with the union, sharing legal resources with people. I have honestly developed relationships and support networks with people that I maybe have worked with cursorily for the last 10 years, but you know what? I now know that who's on dialysis, who had cancer, who had ongoing health concerns, and their questions to me are, Councilwoman, how am I going to navigate this without health insurance? And so, I don't know who pays the editorial board. I don't know who's friends with who. But, that was a retaliatory, let's not research anything anywhere. Let's just write something. So, I guess if people think you're worth talking about, I'll let them talk. But that was really inaccurate. And, I don't have to prove myself to the Denver Post board. My conscience is clear.
Fair enough. So my last question is just another huge issue for the city of Denver is the budget, right? We've been facing this budget shortfall. Earlier this month, you were one of several city council members who rejected the last version of the 2026 city council budget and made more amendments. It's since passed. But Denver reported that, quote, council members have accused the mayor of icing them out of deliberations and providing too little information about the state of finances for the city. What's your big picture takeaway from how this budget process has gone this year? Because it's not your first rodeo.
No.
You've done many of these.
It really says something, I think, about leadership when, the mayor only needs to make friends with 13 of us. It's not a big group. And really, you don't even have to make friends with us. You need to earn our respect because I'm accountable to my voters. And if I can't tell them exactly where the money is going, I'm not able to be accountable to them. And I was just at the Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation's 50th anniversary last night. And it was so beautiful, the number of members that were like, you keep on him. You keep asking him these questions. And I'm like, well, all I just want is a spreadsheet. That's all I'd like. And they're like, yeah, you've been saying that since 2023. And I have. And, as hard as it was, that is why I resigned as the chair of the safety committee. I think it was November of 2023, because I couldn't get a straight answer from them. And they wouldn't tell me where they're going to get this money from. There were no assurances. And I think it's also telling that the director of Host recently resigned. If this was such a great project, if this was a career-making sort of initiative, why are you leaving halfway in the first term? That says a lot. And, I have been told stories by employees that have been laid off that there are really big concerns with how the procurement happened back in 2023, 2024, where there were actually shelter providers in the same room with the Department of Finance while they were crafting these RFPs. That is a big, gigantic no-no in the city, because then you're giving those different vendors a leg up on trying to apply for these grants, et
So
cetera.
these would be organizations that would have stepped up to apply to be the shelter providers.
Yes.
The Salvation Army just finished or did not renew their own contract. And so you're saying the folks that run these were in the same room as the people running the finances within the city.
Yes. And that's been shared with me from folks in procurement, in the city attorney's office that are no longer with the city. And so hearing this, it was oddly validating, but 1,000 times more troubling then, because these are taxpayer dollars. These are not our dollars. And it's indicative that we are so far in the hole. The same amount that was outlaid for All in Mile High and, of course, our migrant crisis. And this mayor just kept saying, oh, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. And, to lose 171 city employees, that's one thing. That's a big hit. That's very hard. But there's also almost 700 positions that are still vacant. So we don't have the social workers. We don't have the people working with young people to mitigate their involvement with law enforcement, but we're still giving massive raises to law enforcement. And that doesn't jive with anything that I have been taught or know from my 30 years. And so I'm really concerned about the safety for people in our city.
Yeah, what do you think the next year will bring then? Or like, what are things? So I think sometimes it's hard as a citizen to understand what the budget means to me. Like, of course, roads and bridges, things that we need. But like it also, like you said, it impacts the amount of social workers that can be providing services through our homeless shelters. Or, most notably, we saw flowers not being planted. Is there anything that you're really thinking about or looking at in the next year that might really impact Denverites?
Yeah, out in District 11, you've got the human resources. So, and with the pandemic, after the pandemic, we didn't have any layoffs. We did not lay a person off because we talked to folks and we were like, we know we got to keep you on. We need you, but you might have to do a couple extra jobs to help us get through. Those folks never stopped doing those extra jobs. So now they're doing that. And, with the city budget, what you're not going to see is we're not going to be able to put up as many traffic signals throughout the city. In District 11, I'm waiting for 11 traffic signals in my district, and a couple of those are going to be paid by the bond, but not all of them. And so then you have that safety issue that's been there for decades. And then, with the budget as well, like the CIP, the capital improvement projects. Park Hill, got a lot of money for the bond, but they've also been using Parks Legacy funds. They'll use some capital improvement dollars for it. So that's great. It's a great brand new amenity that the mayor got to check off a campaign promise. But in District 11, I've got a park at 47th and Walden that the community's been waiting 25 years to get this park built, and we barely voted on it Monday night to put $7 million worth of RISE bond dollars to get that park built.
Which is a previous bond.
It's a previous
that we
bond.
approved as voters.
So, the gaps in service, unfortunately, get passed on to communities of color in equity and lack of hardscape infrastructure, roadways, all those bike lanes, all the protections that people want in their community. The city just won't have money to put those in. And if we're going to put $70 million to a soccer stadium at the same time, that just puts a communities of color projects way, way down on the list. And that's unjust at the end of the day. And so there's going to be a lot of those instances beyond lack of services.
Councilwoman Gilmore, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, happy to. Thank you.
Great. Oh, and don't forget, get your tickets now to the Denver is Denver Awards on December 18th, presented by Denver Health. Check out the link in our show notes to buy tickets and make nominations for Best Restaurant, Best Small Business, Denver is Denverite, and more. See you there. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell DIA CEO Phil Washington about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Denver neighbor today at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye-bye. DEN. DIA, listen. It's DIA and will always be DIA.